Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Cycle Podcast. I'm very excited about today's guest. I have Lauren from Endo Black. We actually met in Washington, D.C. in 2019, which feels like 20 years ago, to be honest. 2019, such a long time ago. I was so grateful to meet her and have wanted to have her on the show forever. So I'm so grateful, Lauren, that you're here. Thank you so much. She's the founder and executive director of Endo Black, but she also has endometriosis. So today we're going to talk a little bit about her endo story, as well as what's going on with Endo Black. So many amazing initiatives since 2015 is when Endo Black was founded. So Lauren will tell us all about that. But I always like to start off with Lauren, welcome. Thank you. Tell us a little bit about yourself. How you doing? What's going on?
Yes, thank you so much, Melissa, for having me. I cannot believe that it was 2019. Like you said, it feels like years ago. Um, but just being able to come here and just share information and share some wealth and share my story, I'm very appreciative of it. And thank you for sharing your platform with me. For me, I'm Lauren Renee Kornegay. I am, as she stated, the executive director and founder of Endo Black. I have endometriosis, but I also attended Morgan State University, which is located in Baltimore, Maryland. I am a Leo. I have to share that with people because I think it's important for people to know.
Yes.
Um, I'm very involved in my community outside of endometriosis. I am a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. Service to all mankind is very important to me. It's really embedded in the person I am. Community is a part of everything for me. So I want to make sure that I do as much community service as possible and give back and, make the community a better place for all of us to be in. So.
That is incredible, and you are doing that. So I
Yeah,
mean, I know at least from the endo side, but I'm sure you are as well in the community. So thank you for sharing that. That's
absolutely.
really humbling and nice to know that even outside of all of this work that you do for endo, that you're doing all of these other things.
Yes, absolutely. I love it. I love the community. That was something that my mom, kind of embedded in me. She was very active in the community. She was a part of, I don't know how many ministries at church in general. I was a Girl Scout as well. And when I say Girl Scout, I mean all the way up until
You had
senior.
all the patches.
Yes, all of the patches. I've received my silver and my gold award, which is one of the highest honors that you can receive. And then we were the troop that I was a part of, we were 10 out of 200 girls in the state of Maryland to receive their gold award. And we were probably 10 of 15 Black women or Black girls at the time to receive our gold award.
Oh my
Like I mentioned, it is embedded in me.
Yeah, life of service. I mean, you're
Yes,
really you're here to serve,
yes,
which
and
is
also have fun.
incredible. And have yes, let's not forget that with all of these things going on and how busy you can get, sometimes we forget that. So
Yes.
very, very good point. Well, tell me a little bit about how did you get diagnosed with endo, or what, in the beginning, like of trying to see that something was going on. Were you just like having pain, or how did this kind of start off for you?
Well, honestly, I didn't know anything was wrong. I was taught that the pain that I endured was a normal type of pain. That was something that stuck out to me. And I remember like balling up into a ball on the ground in high school. I remember my mother crushing up Percocet to put in my applesauce for me to, not feel in pain.
Mhm.
It wasn't until I got to college and while at Morgan State University, as you know, when you go to college, you are not about to go all the way home to go see your doctor, which we should, but that's neither here nor there. And there was a situation that was happening. I had my cycle, and I remember this vaguely because we were preparing for our midterms at the same time as homecoming, which was a terrible, terrible idea. But I was in my speech class dressed up, getting ready to do my presentation for my midterm. And my cycle had left, but for some reason I felt a little different, and something was like, just go to the restroom. I went to the restroom and my cycle had started again. So I had to email my professor and let her know that I could not come back to class because I had bled through my dress. Mind you, this was a dress up clothes that I really loved. And that is when I realized something was wrong. But I still did not go to the doctors because I was like, maybe it will leave. It did not leave. I ended up having my cycle again for a total of 2 to 3 weeks. And I went to the emergency room. While I was at the emergency room, the emergency doctor gave me something. It caused my periods to kind of stop. I'm not really sure what she gave me. However, I then was recommended to go find a OBGYN. I found an OBGYN. Her name is Dr. Maria K. I believe she was an Asian woman. It was a family practice. It was her son, and her daughter. Wonderful place on Hartford Road in Baltimore, Maryland. And went there, and she just was like, "Okay, tell me about your period. Tell me about how your cycles are." I was like, "Well, my cycle starts with my left knee in pain, and then it ends with my right knee in pain, and then I have sharp pains in my chest, sharp pains in my back. I have abdomen pain." She said, "Let me tell you, none of that is normal." And I was like, "Oh,
Wow.
oh, okay." So she was like, "Let's do a pelvic exam really quick." She did a pelvis exam, and she learned that I had a reverted uterus. And she shared that that actually was a symptom or a sign of endometriosis. So she shared that she would like to do an operation to see if I had endometriosis. And I had an operation in March. Mind you, I went to the doctor in October. So after all of that, I had my surgery on March the 18th, 2011. She diagnosed me with endometriosis. So that is how I got here. I never knew it was any problems. I just thought this is something that we had to endure and
Yeah.
we had to figure out how to get through.
Yeah. I mean, thinking back, like when you got that diagnosis, did you reflect back to like middle school, high school, of all the times that you were like writhing in pain or missing events and things like that? And it started to make sense as to what was going on?
Absolutely. That was the first thing that I was like, my mother breaking up Percocet for me not to be in pain is not
Yeah.
normal. I was a child, and
Right.
Percocet should be prescribed for like if you are really in pain, as if like a bone breaks, or
Yeah.
if your arm is messed up, if you break your arm, if you have like really bodily harmful things that are happen, bodily
Yeah,
injury.
for
There
sure.
was no body injury that happened. It was just my cycle.
But your pain was so high that you needed that to at least
Exactly. And it
function.
should not have been. And it
Right.
should not have been something where like, oh no, 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 we'll just give you some medication. And I know my mom probably would have my mother passed away in 2008. So she wasn't present when I had my surgeries. But had she been around, we would have ended up having these conversations. We would have ended up learning
Sure.
a lot more. And I'm sure she probably would have been like my right wingman in this process of endometriosis and
Sure.
Endo Black, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you know if she also struggled with similar symptoms? Like, do you think that she potentially had endo?
Well, I'll share that my biological mother did have endometriosis, and unfortunately, both of them actually passed away in 2008. So I
So
never really
sorry.
had those conversations with them
Right.
because I was
Because
diagnosed in 2011,
and you thought it was normal. I mean,
and I
again,
thought it
you
was
didn't
normal.
think anything outside of the norm. So
Right.
before you had that surgery, when she said endometriosis to you, did you go home and Google it or research, or were you just like, what is it? Because like I know the first time I heard it, I was like, I don't even know what you just said to me. Like, I don't even know what that word means.
I did not do any research on it because in my mind, surgery meant fixing it. So I was like, it really doesn't matter. Whatever's wrong, she's going to fix it. The surgery's going to happen. I'm not going to have it anymore. I'm just going to keep on moving. I didn't understand the
Oh, there, we lost you just for a second, Lauren. You were just
part
saying,
about that.
that's okay. You didn't understand, like, right. You thought you're going to have surgery and this was whatever this thing was going to be gone.
Yes. I didn't realize that I would uh, be dealing with it for the rest of my life.
Yeah, right. Yes, absolutely. Okay, so you have that surgery, you get diagnosed with it. What happens next?
So I get diagnosed, and that's when I realized, oh, yeah, we saw it, we got rid of it, it's probably going to be there, it's probably going to come back because you still have cycles. What is the next step? So she did put me on Lowestrine, which of course is a birth control. And at that time, I'm not a person that says don't do birth control. At that time for me in my life, I thought that that was fine. I was in college. I genuinely did not have time for any other things that were happening, and I did not understand endometriosis. So she put me on Loestrin, which really, for me in that situation, being in college and not knowing, it helped me during that time. I'm very adamant on during that time.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, However, I started doing research. The more research I did, the more I was like, oh, what? Oh, huh? Hmm. So we don't know what endometriosis is. So we don't talk about it enough. And the crazy thing is, I started doing the research and I said, I'm going to be better. I'm going to get healthier. I'm going to do this. She did tell me that I had a cyst, and that was another reason she put me on the lowest strength to maintain it.
Yeah.
I did not know it was growing. Um, I
How
decided,
are you feeling at this time? Not to interrupt you, but really quick. So now you're on this low estrogen, and do you still have pain like your knees? You mentioned that you're having knee
honest,
pain.
I don't remember.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
I really don't remember. I just know that I was moving through life, you
Yeah.
know.
You were pushing forward.
Yep. Just
Okay.
moving through life. And
Yep.
well, I will say that whatever it was, uh, it allowed me to not even notice the cyst being enlarged.
Okay.
So I didn't even know that the cyst was growing. There were no symptoms from that. So no
Okay.
pain for me to
Yeah.
go get checked out. I will say that.
Right.
So I said, I'm going to be healthy. I got endometriosis. I'm going to do my research and I'm going to run around the block. I'm going to eat avocado toast in the morning and drink me a Gatorade. Let me tell you. I remember literally in that order, I had avocado toast and I decided to go run around the block, not realizing that running is going to cause my cyst to rupture.
No.
So I run around the block and I come
Oh,
home and I am out of breath. And I'm like, girl, I knew you were not healthy, but you are unhealthy. You are still breathing hard. What is the problem? And so I'm like, let me sit down. I'm like, let me get some cold water. Let me drink some Gatorade. Let me sit down and breathe. I was still breathing heavy. It was probably 15 minutes after I had gotten home. And mind you, I stopped running when I got home.
right. Right.
I'm like, okay, well, maybe I should hop in the shower. So I hop in the
Oh
shower,
no.
take my clothes off. Right before I hop in the shower, I use the restroom. This is when I started thinking. It takes me a while to put things together. I use the restroom, I get in the shower, and I'm like, whew, whew, still breathing very heavy. Next thing you know, the shower gets dark. And I'm like, the light fixture must be broken. I said, but I'm also exhausted. So let me just go lay down. I'll worry about all of this other stuff later. As I'm walking to my room, I pass out
Oh no.
in the center of the floor. I don't know how
Oh.
long I was down there. I just know I opened my eyes and I was looking up at the ceiling.
Were you home alone too?
My dad was actually upstairs at the dining room table.
Oh my, but
And
probably didn't hear
he
anything.
did, because when you fall, you just fall. It's not,
Right.
if a tree falls in the forest and
Right.
nobody's around to hear it, then how do
Right.
you know a tree falls? How do you
Right.
know what it sounds like? So
Oh
I
my
literally was on the
goodness.
ground looking up at the ceiling. I don't know how long I was down there for. I just know I picked myself up off the ground and I said, I'm still tired because passing out causes your body to be exhausted. I go
Absolutely.
lay down in my bed. So I was like, oh, that's weird. I don't know what that's about. So I actually go to my friend's house, probably the next night or something like that. While I'm there, I use the restroom there. As I'm coming out of the stall, the area after washing my hands, I pass out and I miss the corner of the wall by probably at least 2 inches.
Oh my goodness.
He's screaming, he's scared, he doesn't understand what's happening. And me, I'm like, oh, don't worry. He's like, I'm gonna call the ambulance. No, you're not.
Like, I'm
Ambulance,
fine. I'm
yeah, like I'm
fine.
fine. Also, our ambulance costs money. I will go to the hospital. I promise. I will go to the hospital tomorrow. Also, it was late at night. What are they going? Nobody wants to be in the emergency room at
Yeah.
10 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
That's not gonna work. So I then scheduled an appointment with my doctor. I went to go see her. She did some blood work and she told me, well, of course, because it's a doctor, she's like, well, clearly you're not passed out right now. So it's really nothing I can do, but I'm going to test your blood. I'm going to do all these tests. She said, if
Okay.
you pass out again, you need to go to the emergency room immediately.
Okay.
I was like, you know what? After having passed out that night, my friend, she picked me up. She took me to the hospital. And while going to the hospital, it was summer. It was August the 27th or 28th. My stomach had been sweating. And I sweat. And it's August. It's hot.
Right.
You know, but my stomach had been sweating. And I was like, no other part of my body is sweat. My back isn't sweating. When I tell you sweat, it would look like somebody poured water on
Like
my.
wet. Yeah.
And I'm like,
Yeah.
why is this area right here specifically sweating? So I was so exhausted, she had to give me a wheelchair and roll me inside. This is why advocacy and advocates are so important, and a support system, because she was advocating for me. I came inside. She was like, you need to see her now because she's going to pass out. You need to see her now because she's going to pass out. And they were like, well, we'll be right with you. She was like, no, I'm not leaving. See her now. So they did immediately see me. They did the blood work. They put me in the back area because they said, you know, if I stood up and I passed out in the waiting room, that would have been on them.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I went to use the restroom, and that is when everything clicked. Literally, it takes me 3 times to recognize a pattern. So I had used the bathroom before I passed out in the shower. I had used the bathroom before I passed out at my friend's house.
Yeah.
This would be the third time I used the restroom when they
Right.
asked for a urine sample. And as I was urinating and putting the top on and washing my hands, I said, "Ding, ding, ding! You're getting ready to pass
You're
out."
gonna
So
pass
I'm
out.
telling the nurse, I can't walk anymore. I'm getting." She's like, "No, no, no, hold on." I said, "Girl, if I could hold on, I would never pass out." This is not a thing that I can control. I'm telling
Right.
you this because I know, because the last 2 times,
This is what
this is
happened.
what happened. So literally, as I'm telling her, no, I have to, I drop. My friend says she sees me collapse like a piece of noodle
Yeah.
to
You
the
just,
ground, black out.
yeah.
And the nurse is like, oh, huh. I wake up, excruciating pain, sharp
Oh.
pains in my back. And this had been the first time I woke up in pain.
In
So I
pain, right? Because the other times you just woke up.
woke
Right.
up and I
Right.
went to bed, you know, but I had sharp pains in my back and my chest. My legs were messed up. Like I was like, oh my gosh. So they had to like literally pick me up off the ground and put me in the hospital bed. So I ended up learning that I had the cyst that we talked about in March. After being diagnosed, the cyst had ruptured. It left 2 gallons of blood in my abdomen, and that was what's causing my stomach to sweat because I had the blood in my abdomen. And my brother was present. My brother, who is currently his wife now, was present. My friend Erica and my friend Devin were present. Devin was the one that called all of them and let them know what was happening. My brother came to my aid. They took shifts, they switched out. And it really was a scary experience for me because my mom actually had surgery and she ended up getting an infection from the surgery and passing away. So it really
Oh
frightened
my
me to be in the
God.
hospital. It
Yeah.
frightened me to be in surgeries, all of that.
Did they have to do a surgery after that rupture?
They had to do surgery after that rupture because they had to drain
Drain it. Yeah. Oh
take
my
everything that
God.
was, messed up out. But the
How
doctor,
scary.
it was very scary.
Oh my
It was very, very scary. I cried several times, several times. But the doctor, she reassured me. She said, you're very, it really made me mad at the time, but she was really just trying to do, a good thing. She said, you're a very healthy African American woman. You will be fine. You'll get this. I think I was 21 or 22 years old at the time. I know I'm
Just
probably
so young. Just so
very,
young too.
but that's the thing. A lot of people during that age are going through the same exact
I
thing.
know. I know.
You and it's scary because
Yeah.
they're going through this, by themselves.
Yes.
So that
Yes.
happened, and the surgery happened, and my brother and his at the time fiance, well, at the time girlfriend, were right by my side. Um,
Good.
So I have not had any situations like that. I've not had a cyst rupture. I do have a cyst though. Uh, but I've had this cyst since 2018.
Is it just come and go or is it consistent?
Well, I don't know if it's come and going or consistent. I just know it's been there and it hasn't grown. I've
That's
recently
good.
spoke with my OBGYN.
Yeah.
I've had an ultrasound, a sonogram, all of these things. They've seen it. It's measuring at 4.3.
Okay.
It has not done anything. It is by my ovary. So that is a little concerning, but
Yeah.
it hasn't grown. It hasn't done
And
anything.
they know to monitor it by
Yes,
getting
they
all
need to
the
monitor it.
ultrasounds. Yeah.
And it's because you have to pay attention to your body. One thing I did learn is that when I get out the shower, before I get in the shower, I take a moment to look in the mirror and look at my body and examine my body to see what may be different that I'm
Yeah.
not paying attention. And there was a protrusion out. At first, I thought it was like my ovaries just being swollen because of my cycle, but
Right.
it wasn't because there were times where I wasn't where I didn't have a cycle and it was swollen.
Yeah.
So I was like, I probably should talk to them about this. So
Yes. I don't know what it is with the shower and passing out. And or I guess you said you would go to the restroom and that would like trigger it and then go into the shower. But I think you just bring up a really good point and a really good tip for everyone who's listening. Take a second before you get in the shower and really examine
examine
and
your
check
body.
in with yourself. Just like,
Yeah.
am I okay? How am I feeling? Because I feel like we just get so busy and we're just go, 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 go. And we ignore signs that may be there trying to warn us that something is off.
Agreed. And you don't have to do like a full exam of your body every day, but like at
No.
least once every month or at least twice every month where you're like, hold on, let me just see. Okay. Yeah, and I know people probably doing it now because of monkeypox, but that should be how it's always. Because now we're probably like, oh, what is this? Oh,
Right. Right.
but it should be like that all the time because even you have skin cancer. If there are certain marks on your body, you should go take a look at. If you have certain moles on your body, you should go make sure you're taking a look at that type of stuff because those are indications of other things, and they could be nothing.
Right.
It could be nothing, but it's better to know if there is something wrong or not.
Right. Right. So since that episode happened and you had to have that surgery and you said now you have a cyst, how have you been doing? Like what's going on with endo for you right now personally? Like how are you feeling? What are some of the things that you've done to really like strategy wise to cope with endo?
Sometimes I do nothing at all. I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes I'm
That's okay.
exhausted with
Yeah.
endo.
Yeah.
I just get in my bed, I turn the light off, and I go to bed.
Yeah.
Other times I may, get some CBD ointment. I may do CBD topicals or drops. I'm very consistent with my vitamins, especially because we're going into the colder months now.
Yeah.
I pick back up on that. So that may, that includes C Main Health, but that also includes vitamin D, that includes zinc, that includes elderberry. I also have maca root. So I try to make sure that I am doing my part in this.
Yeah.
Also, just paying attention to the foods I eat. Sometimes I do pig out. I will not lie. I had a burger yesterday. That's just
You
me.
gotta live though. You gotta
I
live.
have to live. And
Yeah.
you know what time I had it? I had it at night because I was home and I knew what was happening. So I just went to bed right after.
Yeah.
And if I'm in pain, guess what? That was my decision to be in pain at that moment because I like cheat days
Yeah.
you know
Yeah. Yes.
everything is in moderation. I try to be mindful of that. I try not to do too much stress. Most recently I have gotten on depot. I thought it would be a good idea to maintain the cyst, but I forgot I was older. I had been on depot in 2015 to 2017. I got
Mhm.
off because they do say you take breaks because of the bone density, the calcium levels, and things of that nature. And then I just never got back on it, which was fine. And I thought that by getting on depot, currently, right now, at 33, 34 years old, that I would be fine. And it was a good idea. It was a terrible, terrible idea for me.
You had a totally different reaction to it than you did in your
Totally different
20s.
reaction. I was so confused. And currently, and I'll share because this, we're talking about everything.
Yeah.
I have been bleeding very, very not even heavy, just a lot.
Yeah.
What would normally be a cycle of 3 days in spotting, the fourth day is now I'm bleeding for 2 weeks every time. And this was my first shot. And I'm like, oh, girl, I'm not coming back for a second shot. I was
Mm-mm.
going to go ahead and tell them we can cancel that appointment. We can still have an appointment. I can still see you because in my mind, you my friend because you my OBGYN.
Right.
But girl, I'm
But
not doing
no. Yeah.
Mm-mm.
Oh
Yeah, but the
my.
thing is, they told me that. They said, if you don't like it, we can just cancel. We can
Yeah.
find another method, or we can just take you off birth control completely. I
Yeah.
know that you're just trying to monitor the cyst. It looks like it's fine. If you feel like it's not going to be good, we can just take you off completely. So,
Yeah.
they knew.
Yeah.
But I ended up in the hospital. Um, this was late July, I believe. It was a Monday. And then Monday, I had a little bit of pain. And I remember because my cousin got married the week before. So the 21st of July, I started spotting. 22nd, spotting. 23rd, spotting. Then Monday, bleeding, bleeding. Then
Mm.
another day, bleeding, bleeding. That's when the pain really started. So much pain that I had to call out of work Wednesday to the point where I could barely get out the bed. I got out of the bed to use the restroom. I ain't brushed my teeth. I don't want to see nothing. I
Right.
got back in the bed and I'm like, this is crazy.
Yeah.
This is crazy. And these were pains that had not been something that I have felt before. So I just could attribute it to the depot.
Yeah.
Of course, the next day I went to work. I thought I would be fine. I wasn't fine. I ended up going to the hospital.
Oh
The
no.
OBGYN said, yeah, it is the depot. That's what's going to happen. It's the depot. And I was like, that is terrible. I haven't been in that much pain since then. But that just right there was like, yeah, I'm good. I'm
Yeah.
good at that.
Yeah.
So it has been a up and down battle. I will share that I share in a lot of the podcast interviews that I do that I believe that I was allergic to pesticides because of my endometriosis and the chemical. Well, I am now no longer allergic to the pesticides. I'm able to drink lemon juice, pineapple juice, mango juice, or eat mangoes or eat lemons, all of these things that I had been allergic to since 2010. And I just didn't become allergic in July. So I was like, okay, cool. At first I thought that the stuff that I was drinking was artificial, but I'm also allergic to the artificial stuff too. So it was like, this is weird to me. Um,
Yeah.
so my allergies have shifted.
Okay.
My symptoms, they shift as well. In
Yeah.
2020, I had a lot of migraines, vomiting issues, a lot of upset stomachs, a lot of migraines to the point where I had to be in the dark
Mhm.
specifically for like 2 days straight.
Yeah.
And it was because of the dairy. And I can do dairy, but I try not to overdo dairy. Not milk specifically is not what I'm doing. Now,
Yeah.
cheese,
Yeah.
I'm going to eat cheese. We're not going to stop that at all.
But
However,
in moderation, right? You're not going to eat a block of
you're
cheese.
like, why are you doing that? Put
Yeah.
it down. Like, are you trying to have a problem?
Or like a gallon of
Have a
ice cream.
syrup. But I don't even eat ice cream. I
Mm-mm.
don't eat ice
It's too
cream.
much.
I don't eat yogurt. I don't drink milk when I go to Starbucks. Well, now, as you see, this is like a fruity drink. But when I
Yeah.
went to Starbucks before, I said only almond milk. And
Yeah.
it was so bad to the point where I guess they accidentally did not put almond milk and they put regular milk or whole milk. I
Mm-hmm.
took 2 sips. My stomach was like, it was mad
Yeah.
at me.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
right now I am learning the process of my body again because I'm
Yeah.
getting older. So every time I get older, every 3 years, I'm thinking that my symptoms adjust. That's what I'm thinking. Or
Yeah.
maybe every 2 years. I'm not sure. I just try to keep up with it and I try to
Mhm.
track it. I do use my iPhone a lot to track all of my medical things, even stuff that my family is connected to that I haven't seen for myself, just in case when I go to the doctor, they'll ask me certain things.
Yeah.
Went to the eye doctor recently and we talked about my eye. I don't know if people know this. This may be a thing. When I come on my cycle, my right eye hurts. And it's very weird. The first 2 times, again, it takes me 3 times. The first 2 times, I didn't realize it. I had my
Yeah.
cycle and I was like, oh my gosh, my eyes hurting. My eyes puffy. It's watering. One of my friends was like, what is wrong with your eye? And I was like, leave me alone. I don't know. Leave me alone.
You're like, maybe it's like allergies or something
Yeah,
weird.
I
I don't
don't know. It's
know.
falling out here. You see what's going on. But then the third time, his voice came in my head and was like, what is wrong with your eye? And I was like, no, seriously, what is wrong with my eye? This keeps happening every month. And I was like, my cycle was on. So I Googled it. And then I just happened to have an eye appointment. And I talked to my eye doctor. She was like, oh, yeah, that's true. It can be linked to your cycle and estrogen levels. So your eye can probably hurt because of the estrogen levels and your cycle. And I said, well, that's not something we talked about.
Crazy. I mean, it's just, yeah, and inflammation and endo. I mean, it makes sense to me, but it's something you would never
People never put those two
put
and two
those two
together
together
because,
ever.
and that is why it's so important for people to understand that endometriosis is a full body disorder, that
Yeah.
cycles bother full bodies. This is not a, oh, you just bleed and that's it.
Or you got some cramps. No.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a full body disorder. We have to pay attention to it because stuff like that is how we can actually realize that people are affected by endometriosis, PCOS, fibroids, all those things. If we know all of the symptoms, having not knowing that my eye pain was a symptom and
Right.
speaking to my eye doctor, I wouldn't have never known. And she was like, also your tear ducts are very sensitive. And she put like light in my eyes. She said, you're crying already? I was like, I thought my eyes were regular. She was like, no, your tear ducts are very sensitive. And I was like, I never knew. I just thought,
Right.
I thought I was just crying. Just thought I was emotional. I thought that's
Just
what it
thought it
was.
was an oh, so all that water springing out, just have sensitive. But I mean, we laugh because we have to. But
Yeah.
you bring up such just a valid point. Like I used to have this neck and shoulder pain constantly, and I thought it was because, as we do, we carry all these bags with our laptops in them. We're schlepping all of this stuff in a bag.
Yes.
And then I had someone on the podcast, which is why I do this podcast, exactly what you just shared with your eye. Someone else probably has that same symptom and now they'll know. But the guest on the show was like, oh, I thought I was carrying this bag. And they were like, ended up finding out that I had an endometrioma on my liver that was pulling like on a nerve and causing that pain.
Because it
How
does mess with nerves.
crazy is that?
Mm-hmm.
So again, this is why we have these conversations, and I can't agree more that, endo isn't just this thing that happens during our cycle. This is an everyday condition that affects the entire
Absolutely.
body. It's
Absolutely.
so, with that, you started a charity for this, right? In 2015, were you just fed up and you were like, I need people to have more awareness, or like what happened where you're like, I'm going to do this?
I really think it was the after, of course, August of 2011 when I went back into the hospital. I was like, this could have killed me. You
Yeah.
know, I could have, not that I could have died from the blood, I could have died from passing out. And I was like, I need to
And
do
the blood though, right?
yeah,
Like if
and
you
the
had
blood
never gone to the hospital,
at
that's
all.
internal bleeding. Yeah.
Exactly. So I'm like, I should probably do more reading on this. I should probably do more research. And that's what I did. I started reading and doing research, and I was like, there's not enough. There's not enough information. I'm confused. And then I'm like, these people don't know what we're talking about. Everything was conflicting. Like the information was conflicting. It wasn't helpful. And then there was no awareness around African American women or women of color. So I started the Instagram page originally, honestly, just to connect with people that look like me. It just
Yeah.
felt important to me to do. And I thought, there's not that many,
You're like, maybe I'll find like 10 new
maybe
people.
I only have 5,000 people following at the most, because spam will follow you. But then you do have those people that are affected by it.
Yeah.
And next thing you know, everybody's like, oh my gosh, I have endo. I'm Black, I have endo. I'm Hispanic, I have endo. I'm Native American, I have endo. And I'm like, it's a lot of y'all.
Yeah.
It's a lot of y'all.
Yeah.
And those are people that were diagnosed. Imagine the people that are not diagnosed still to this day.
Yeah. Right now, well, we're having this
This
podcast.
conversation,
Yeah.
right? So then, in 2019, people were like, I want to meet you. I want to meet my sisters. I want to meet these people. I want to meet everybody that has endometriosis. And I'm like, oh, huh.
This is
How
an
about this?
interesting idea.
This is interesting. Let's do that. And then I'm like,
Yeah.
let's do a meet and greet. And then I started the website. And then um then I was like, oh, I should become a nonprofit. How am I pay for all this stuff that we're trying to do? And then I was like, oh, the name, I need to become incorporated. Oh, I got to do the trademark. So it just one thing after another, one thing after another. And it was a community. It was really the
Yeah.
response that the community gave me that gave me the inspiration to
Yeah.
actually move forward. We went from just Endo Black to Endo Black Incorporated,
Mhm.
and being a nonprofit organization and putting ourselves in a position to connect people with resources, to connect people, to connect people with medical professionals, and just wanting to build a community where we had a safe space for us to laugh, talk about things. And another thing that I've really noticed that was really disturbing to me in the community is that every time we talked about endometriosis, it was so depressing. Each endometriosis group that I had been a part of, it was so sad. We were arguing with each other. People were talking about, well, you shouldn't be using birth control. You shouldn't get a hysterectomy. You shouldn't get pregnant to stop your endometriosis. I'm like, if that's what you want to do, sis,
Yeah.
let her do it.
Yeah.
As
Let's be
long
here
as she
for each other.
understands, right, as
Like,
long as she understands all of the information
mm,
about it, and
right.
she makes a valid decision for her life and what she feels is comfortable or what they feel is comfortable, then let them do it.
Yeah.
Like, how do you fault somebody or try to argue with somebody about them trying to figure out how to live in their time, in their way?
Well,
So
and
that's why we really started it, and that's how we have gotten to what we have gotten to.
yeah, and I mean, it's absolutely incredible all of the things that you're doing, and I want to talk about that. But even just going back to what you're saying about just like supporting each other and others' decisions, it's so important because I feel like people are just struggling so much anyway. They just need sometimes just someone to listen because even though our friends and family can be incredibly supportive, it's hard to understand what we're going through unless you are going through it too.
Mhm.
That it's such an important part of having a community and having this disease is having people that you can be like, oh, my sciatic or my butt hurts or whatever. Like you're
Yep.
probably not saying that to like your everyday friend because they would just
And
be like,
be like, girl,
take some ibuprofen, get over it. What's wrong with
yeah,
you?
like,
But then
what's
you're
wrong
saying
with
it like
you?
every day. But
Mhm.
yeah, I agree. I mean, just supporting people where they're at and with the access to care that they can get. Not everybody can have surgery. So if there's other means of ways that they can feel better, then I'm all for it too.
Mhm.
So, okay, so in 2019, did you have a meetup with a bunch of people?
Yes. That was our first event, meet and greet. It was at Smith Commons in Washington, D.C. Smith Commons has since closed, but they really did support us. We had about 50 women come out. We had Samantha Dene speak. We had Cassie speak. We had Kyla Kenzader speak. We had LaAnna Douglas speak. We had October Lotus and Harmony. Skincare company come out and provide vending and things of that nature. We had nano pads support us by donating boxes of pads. We were able to give out gifts and do little trinkets and gift baskets for everybody. And we just had a really fun time
Yeah.
and just took a moment to just connect. And people were so excited. I was like, oh, this is really good. We have
Yeah.
to keep doing this. Like, people wore yellow. And we're
Yeah.
in theme. We're in theme now. So it's like we're all wearing yellow, walking around bright. So people are like, what is this? Like, why are you wearing yellow?
Yeah.
And why are you all together? And then the person that worked with us, the manager, she was like, we really love what you're doing. We love the outcome of this event. So we're gonna throw in some extra food for you. You all can get more mimosas. I'm like,
Awesome.
oh, this is nice. Thank
Yeah.
you. And that's how I knew that this was something that really needed to continue
Yeah.
because people understood the value of awareness around African American women and women of color affected by endometriosis because you saw the women who were actually affected by it.
Yes.
So it,
Yes.
it it made sense, it worked. And then we just kept going and kept doing stuff. The website was launched literally the same day as the event. And we just, and mind you, I got sick the same day. After the event, I got sick so bad that I ended up throwing up and I was nauseous
Oh,
and I had brain fog and all of that, which is
yeah.
okay. But that just showed me, like, girl, you be working. You might need to get some help. You need to get some volunteers so that you're not working too
You
much.
can't do it all yourself. Yeah.
Right. So we end up, of course, we would start doing amazing things, and then the pandemic happened.
Yeah.
But with the pandemic, it also allowed us to sit back because we were working from home by this point at my full-time job. So it allowed me to do more endometriosis work, to do more research. We received a lot of funding. A lot of companies and businesses and nonprofits saw what we were doing and they supported our mission and they
Yeah.
supported what we did. We had our conference in
Awesome.
2020. We had Tia Mori be
Yeah.
present. Arda Ray was able to be present. And then that's when it really took off.
It was incredible, by the way. Incredible conference.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It was something that was virtual. So, of
Yeah.
course, that was so new to me doing a conference. It's one thing to work for someone else and do events and do the work because you're getting paid for it. And, of course, you like what you do, but there's that different touch. I was doing all of this for myself and for
Yeah.
Endo Black. And I was like, oh my God, oh my God, ooh, okay. I don't have to ask anybody about
Right.
anything. All I have to do is run this past the board, and the board will either say yes or no. And they really give me the support.
Yeah.
And they, for the most part, one of them has PCOS and two of them have endometriosis. So
Yeah.
they understand
Understand.
mission, they
Yes.
understand everything that we're doing. So they just give us the free will and then they support us the best way they can. They connect us with the resources. They may donate or they may host the event. So it's like
Yeah.
we can do so many different things. And then last Saturday we had our meet and greet, which
I saw. How was that?
yes, it was amazing. We had so many vendors present. We had SOK Services Corporation. They actually did HIV testing. They provided information. We had Discover Health. They provided a ton of information. Undie Wash, which is a detergent for underwear, they were present. We also had Ashe Water support the event by supporting the water and providing water for us. We had Ray's Skincare Line, Natural Essentials, Emma Valentine, so many
Great.
different organizations just to be present to
Incredible.
make things happen.
Yeah.
And though we had about 40 people turn out, I thought it was a really good turnout.
I think that's
Had,
wonderful.
yeah, we had so much fun. We had a 360 machine. And I think we kind of just went crazy on it. We had
There's
a
like
great time.
1,000
Yes.
photos.
At one point, I was throwing pads I was like throwing pads at the camera. Balling with non-toxic pads. We had a sponsorship from a lot of organizations. And we also had Kindfully, which is a non-toxic pad company, support us and provided for our period care initiative. We had so many items that we were able to give out at the event as well. So it was an amazing turnout. And it was a great feeling to do the meet and greet again
Yeah.
this year. Though
Yeah. Be able to bring it back.
I think yes, yeah.
Yeah. That's great. And you have some things coming up. So what else is going on? I know you have a gala coming up, I think
Yes,
I
yes.
saw.
Mhm.
Tell me a little bit about what's coming up or how people can get involved.
Absolutely. So we are doing our African American and endometriosis workshop in person. We are inviting medical professionals, caregivers, supporters, donors, nurses, anybody who's interested in learning to come out. It will be in Temple Hills, Maryland. It is going to be on September the 29th, which is a Thursday, which allows people who are medical professionals to come directly. I know, depending on their schedule, can get a little hectic, but we are really encouraging people to come out because we want to share the representation and why it is important. We also want to share how it's important to become an ally and what you can do to become an ally. And this workshop will actually be led by a nurse practitioner who has endometriosis.
Cool.
So she knows the full scope. She's in the medical field, so she knows the terminology, but she's also living with endometriosis, so she understands the experience.
Yeah.
So we'll be doing that on September the 29th. Again, that is the Thursday. In October, we'll be doing our gala, which is an award gala, which is our first event that we're doing that is on this type of magnitude. This will be located in College Park, College Park, Maryland at the Marriott. Again, this is the 22nd. We are going to take a moment to really just honor all of the people in the endo community who have been doing amazing things, from organizations to businesses to individuals to influencers to people that have just been doing the work that that we do, but also we're not the only organization, we're
Yeah.
not the only group of people, we're not the only advocates. So we have to take a moment to celebrate the people that have been doing the work so that they can continue. The more we praise people, the more they're like, you know what, this matters, let me continue to do this.
Yeah.
So we're doing that. if anybody wants to support any of the events that we're doing, they can reach out to me at lauren.kornegay@endoblack.org, or to make it a little bit easier, info@endoblack.org. We are looking for sponsorships. We are looking for organizations to be present. We're looking for donations for our silent auction. We're looking for people to purchase ad space in the souvenir booklet. And really, that's it. That's really probably going to close out the year for us. We probably will do about 2 additional events because we do have Giving Tuesday,
Yes.
which is not sure the exact day of Giving Tuesday, but it is the last Tuesday of November. And then we also will probably have our Endo Diet, mocktails and cocktails event, where we'll probably do this not necessarily in person, but we will have a chef cook in person at a location to
Yeah.
see what type of stuff that they can do. And she also has endometriosis as well. So those are the things that we're doing. Again, if anybody's looking to sponsor any of the events, you can definitely reach out to me directly or to info@endoblack.org. We have an Instagram page, a Facebook page, a Pinterest page, a TikTok page, a YouTube page, and we have a LinkedIn.
You
And all
name
I have
it,
to do
you're
is search
there.
Endo Black Incorporated, and it will pop up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and your website is endoblack.org. So
Yep.
all of those things, if you need the links or want to find it, go
Yes.
to the website. All the information's there. I love your Instagram and your TikTok, though. I'm trying not to spend too much time on TikTok because
It's hard.
it's so addictive. I'm just like,
So hard. You just scroll through like, ooh, what's next? Let me see this. It's like, oh, you can really do this?
I know,
Oh, I
I
never
know.
knew this.
This is
Yeah.
a great tip. And then I
Never
can't.
use it.
Right. Well, that
Just
too.
save it and you
You
never use the
remember, and
tip.
then you're like, whatever. Well, Lauren, I mean, I'm so grateful that I know you and for all the work that you do for the endo community. I
Yeah.
really, truly, honestly mean that. And I think just having these conversations and awareness and all of these things will make a difference. You know, and what happened to you in 2011, think of how far we've come because of the programs and things that you're doing. And like you said, there's other people in the space. I just feel very grateful because there's so much more information than when we started on this kind of path of
Yes.
endometriosis.
Yeah.
So,
We have to be thankful for the work that some medical professionals are doing, the advocates that are doing, because they have gotten us this far. Even the Endo Act bill that is out, things like that. There are people who are trying their best to do the work, who are trying their best to support us. So
yeah,
I'm very appreciative of them.
yeah, me too. And I think as long as we keep moving forward, which I think we are, then there'll be more answers and diagnoses early and
Yep,
hopefully less surgery and things like that. But thank
absolutely.
you again so much for coming on. Is there anything else you want to add before we wrap up?
Probably 2 things because I think I just forgot something.
That's what we're here to do.
So we are in the new year looking to do something. I won't share too much, but it's really important to make sure that we are connecting with youth. We are trying our best to connect with the high schoolers because, as I stated before, I had symptoms in high school that I didn't recognize until college. And if we are paying attention and educating the youth, if we are educating these teenagers, regardless if they're male or female, if we educate them, put the tools and resources in their hand to guide them, they will find the way. They will educate themselves. They will pay attention. I've heard of a story of young boys carrying menstrual cycle products in their book bags for their friends. So this generation that's coming up underneath us just needs our support. We have to make sure we pass them the torch. A lot of times we judge people younger than us, whatever the case may be. These kids smart.
They are.
These
They
kids,
are.
they may not be aware of certain things that we are, but it is our job to educate them, give them the tools, give them the resources. If we give them the education, they will realize what is happening with their bodies, which will also share an opportunity for them to share with us. Hey, mom, hey, auntie, hey, uncle, this is how I feel. I don't understand why I feel like this. Do you think something may be wrong? And that's where we open up the door because we can get them help in 11th and 12th grade versus going off to college by themselves, not going to the doctors, because who goes to the doctors in college?
No
Nobody.
one.
I didn't care about doctors. I really didn't even want to do my work. I did love school, don't get me wrong, because I love my major is speech, but I didn't love math. I didn't love English. I
Love
didn't
that.
love those courses.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to do anything but party with my friends and go to my favorite classes. And we
Mhm.
have to be honest. If we connect them with the doctors and specialists beforehand, before they leave, they'll know what's going on and they'll know how to manage it effectively.
I
So
cannot agree more. If
yeah,
someone when I was in high school came to educate me and said painful cramps aren't normal or feeling this
I
way
would have
isn't
changed
normal,
so
my
much.
whole life would have been literally I have like chills telling you that right now, but my whole life would have been different.
Yes, it would have. And I just want to make sure that people understand that we have to give them the tools. So we are working on pamphlets. We are working on doing a talk series with colleges. We are working on doing peer care initiatives and continuously doing peer care initiatives and connecting with high schools to drop off those items. So this is the work that we're doing. If you know of anybody who wants to get connected, if you know if you want to support us, if you want to be a part of change, if you want to be a part of the mission of Endo Black of advocacy and education, we are open to partnership. We are open to collaboration, and we're open to changing and making sure that we can make a difference, not just for African Americans and people of color, because endometriosis is inclusive. It
Mhm.
affects everybody, and Endo Black also is inclusive. So we
Mhm.
want to make sure that we support everybody as much as possible, and also support other organizations such as EndoQueer, support October Lotus, support Pretty Periods, support these organizations, Samantha, Danae, April, Christina, uh, Kyla Kenzader. Just make sure that we get the word out about them, because Indo Black is not the only organization, and I'm not the only person doing that work. Support the people that you can support in the capacity that you can support them in.
Yeah, 100%. Very well said. Very well said. Okay. Well, thank you so much. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing your story with us. And really, thank you so much for your service and what you're doing for those with endo.
Yes, absolutely. And thank you so much again for having me on and sharing your platform. I know it's been a while, but I'm so glad that we finally made it work.
Me too. Thanks,
Yes.
Lauren.